If every high school principal gave the following speech, America would be a much better place.
Yeah, that's right. I'm doing a Prague video.
Yeah, that's right. I'm doing a response to Otterface. Howdy, y'all. My name is Rational Outlaw, and today I'm doing a response video to Otterface. But not only Otterface, also Hi, I Think I'm Real. What I'm doing is taking both of their videos, which they did on PragueU, and taking their points, and I'm going to rebuttal their points. Now, I have nothing against either of these two skeptics. I actually like Otterface's videos. I think she's entertaining, but I think she was a bit uninformed on this topic. For Hi, I Think I'm Real, well, he was uninformed, but also some of his arguments, well, how should I put this in the nicest way possible? They were complete. Anyways, let's get on with the video.
To the students and faculty of our high school, I am your new principal and honored to be so. There is no greater calling than to teach young people. I would like to apprise you of some important changes coming to our school. First, this school will no longer honor race or ethnicity. I could not care less if you are black, brown, red, yellow, or white. I could not care less if your origins are African, European, Latin American, or Asian, or if your ancestors arrived here on the Mayflower or on slave ships. The only identity this school will recognize is your individual identity, your character, your scholarship, your humanity. And the only national identity this school will recognize is American.
All right, contrary to what my elders have told me my entire life, I'm gonna have my dessert before my vegetables with this clip. In other words, let me point out some things that I do agree with by pulling from personal experiences.
Well, please do explain, because I don't see how your personal experiences are going to matter here at all for what Prager just said.
I was born into a poor Mexican family. My mother who raised me was an immigrant, and I was born as a first-generation citizen. I grew up in and around Los Angeles, one of the most culturally diverse places in the United States. I had many friends in my childhood, and I spent a lot of time with their families. I was invited into their homes. I sat with them at the dinner table. And these families were Armenian, Vietnamese, Korean, Lebanese, Samoan, Nigerian, you name it.
Okay, so what's the problem?
Their customs were oddities to me, and mine to them, but do you want to know what the beautiful thing was? We were united by the fact that we were all Americans.
Okay, so now it sounds like you agree with Prager, so what's the problem?
That national identity united us and created social cohesion because we were building a new culture, an American culture. So believe me, I understand the importance of a national identity. I also understand that if we truly want to call our society a meritocracy, then the value of an individual must come from his or her merit.
For f***'s sake, just get to the point. What the f*** is wrong with what Prager said that you think is so bad?
But I believe that there's a false dichotomy being presented here. In what world are we not allowed to hold people accountable by their abilities and still acknowledge their cultural background? Do not misunderstand me. I'm not saying that anyone's ethnicity should take precedence over their ability, their work ethic, or their humanity. I'm saying that refusing to acknowledge the existence of varied cultural backgrounds, especially in a country like ours, is tantamount to shoving your fingers in your ears, shutting your eyes, and ignoring reality.
Prager did not say he was ignoring any of that. Where the f*** are you getting this? Prager, from what I can tell, just doesn't want people focusing on their skin color or their ethnicity. It's not important. The whole point is to build a central culture, a culture that is American. That's the whole point of a nation, is to build around the nation's culture that's already there, not around other cultures. He's just saying that they shouldn't focus on so heavily on stuff that's unimportant, and that how to make themselves feel different is to focus on themselves, on who they are, not what they are. Because what you are is not important. It is not who you are. Or at the very least, it is a very small part of you.
Now, I am not someone who believes that diversity alone is a virtue. You'd have to be a left-wing SJW to believe that. But there is something incredibly enlightening about being able to experience the foods, the languages, the customs of the rest of the world under the unifying identity of this country.
He never said there was anything wrong with what you want. He was just talking about for schools, The whole point of a school is to create one identity, not many different identities. It's supposed to create a gluing effect for people, to bring people together under one identity, and that is American. It doesn't matter what your skin color, what your sex, what your orientation is, what your gender, what your religion. None of that matters. What matters is that we're all American.
If you wish to affirm here an ethnic or racial identity or a national identity other than American, you will have to attend another school.
So let's live in your world for just a second. How exactly can someone simply attend another school when, if you had your way, these values would be implemented in every school in America? This is the problem with being a cultural authoritarian. You think that your worldview is superior and moral and infallible, that everyone would be better off thinking the way that you do.
Now, I don't always agree with Mr. Prager, but he's not a authoritarian. Did you pull that out of your ass? And Mr. Prager never said his view is the only view or that he is always right. And I don't think he even believes that himself. He might believe he is right on many things, but I doubt he believes he's right on everything. You're just making assumptions. And yes, he might believe he is right on this. I agree with him. That doesn't make me a SJW by agreeing with him that schools need some form of guidance in the sense of creating a unity in the country. Also, if you think he's a cultural authoritarian, why did he say, if every high school principal gave the following speech, America would be a much better place? How does that sound cultural authoritarian to you? He didn't say must or should even. He said if. If. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Now, I get where you're coming from, Mr. Prager, but if this is something that every principal should say, how is the student going to attend another school?
Now, this point here that you, Otterface, and Hi, I Think I'm Real brought up, I believe Mr. Prager did not phrase what he meant to say very well. What I believe he meant to actually say is this should be implemented in all public schools. I don't think he's saying that this must be forced into private schools. He might suggest that this is the best thing for them to have, or, a similar program, but this is only something that he believes should be implemented absolutely, perhaps, in public schools.
I'm just assuming that this would happen to every single school, by the way. There might be schools that might reject this kind of thing, but I'm just assuming that this is going to happen to every single school with every single head teacher. You want every single principal of every school to say this, meaning that the students that do affirm an ethnic and racial identity or national identity other than American, they're not going to be able to get a school, are they? So what happens then? Because surely wouldn't they have a legitimate argument against you if they said that they weren't able to go to any school because of something to do with their race or ethnicity or of their national identity, which might not be American?
I'm not quite sure I understand what you're trying to say here, Otterface. But I'm assuming you mean that they may not be able to go to school there because they may not agree with what is being taught, or that not all of what they want is being taught. But if that's the case, then they can go to a private school or be homeschooled, or just suck it up and go to public school.
Third, because I regard learning as a sacred endeavor, everything in this school will reflect learning's elevated status. This means, among other things, that you and your teachers will dress accordingly. There will be a dress code at this school. And you will address all teachers by their title, not by their first name.
I feel like I'm going to be drawing from a lot of personal experiences in this video, for better or worse.
Oh great, more personal experiences.
Listen, I've attended schools with strict and even stricter dress codes in my storied past as a wandering poor kid trying to get an education. One of those schools had a uniform policy considerably stricter than just a dress code. Now, I don't know to what degree Dennis's ideal dress code would look like, but just like the issue of teaching English in the previous step, I'm quite certain that a majority of American high schools have a dress code in place. And in my experience, those policies were universally loathed.
So because kids hate them, they should not have a dress code policy. I'm pretty sure you could find a similar thing with certain subjects within schools, with kids almost universally hating them. Does that mean we shouldn't have those subjects? Does that mean we shouldn't maybe, I don't know, let's just say math, for example. A lot of people hate math. Does that mean we shouldn't have math? Of course not. That's not an argument.
By the many student bodies of the many schools that I've attended in my life. Even more so at the school that had a non-negotiable uniform policy. Students would constantly and actively seek ways to shirk those rules, which created distractions.
So enforcing the rules is bad because kids break them. So since people don't always follow the laws, should we have no laws? Assuming you're talking about that it's supposed to be distracting for the other students, so what? Maybe it takes 5-10 minutes tops to deal with the student or students who are breaking the dress code? If your whole problem is that how they handle it is not good, then that would be more of an argument to change how they handle the kids who break the dress code.
Students were pulled from class to be assigned loaner uniforms, repeat offenders were suspended, and so on. It served to obstruct the education of many, particularly of the compliant.
How the does that obstruct the education of the kids who are compliant with the dress code?
Half of my public school experience was just watching my teachers discipline the students that wouldn't follow the rules and waiting to get back to the lesson.
So since people still steal, does that mean we shouldn't have laws against it?
As much as I know that Prager would love the idea of boys wearing slacks with their collared shirts tucked in, and girls wearing dresses that are tasteful and resting below their knees, sitting quietly and attentively in their lectures, frankly, the reality doesn't reflect that.
Okay, first off, you're making a hasty generalization there. You're assuming that he wants perhaps a dress code where boys wear slacks and collared shirts and girls wear long skirts or dresses or whatever. As you said earlier in your video, you don't know what his ideal dress code is. I'm going to make more of the assumption that it might not be anything like what you just said there. I'm pretty sure we can agree that kids should not be dressing like sluts in high school. I'm going to make the assumption that Prager just doesn't think it is good for kids like girls to have short shorts where their butts are half hanging out and short tank tops. And boys, perhaps, he probably does not like them dressing like thugs with their pants hanging down to their knees or clothing that has foul language or nudity on it. His idea of a dress code might be more realistic than you think. So don't go making an outrageous claim with no idea as to what he really wants.
Now, I hear from a lot of conservatives about the importance of personal freedom and the accountability to take responsibility for those choices. But this desire to control the rhetoric of others runs directly in contrast to that rhetoric. I also highly doubt that any student at any public high school is addressing his or her teachers by their first names. That just doesn't happen before university, and even at university, it's still Dr. last name. It seems to me that you want to change the entire landscape of American public schools based largely on non-issues.
So if you think that's a non-issue, then why does it sound like you're complaining about what he just said? Well, that's going to be it for today. This is just part 1 of a 3-part video that I'm doing on Hi, I Think I'm Real and Otterface. It's going to take me some time to get through everything, so bear with me. Anyways, if you like this video, please give it a like, subscribe, share it, comment down below, and tell me what you thought. Follow me on all my social media, support me on Patreon and VidMe, and I'll see y'all later.